Yo, what is good, Jets Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Monday Night Sports Talk. Tonight, we'll be getting into the nitty and gritty of the New York Jets and talking about how much pain we are all in and give you guys a little glimpse of what we expect from this offseason. And you guys know the drill. There's not a lot to talk about when it comes to the Jets, optimistically speaking, because we are coming off one of the worst losses of our Jets fan life. I mean, at least in my Jets fan life. We'll hear from Greenbean because he's been alive a lot longer than us. But Greenbean, welcome to the stream tonight. You are a special guest this week. So how's it going, Greenbean?
I'm in the best mood. I'm honored to be on your channel, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we can accomplish together. See if we can, align our emotions to come out of this podcast feeling better, or this live stream better than we started.
Yes, absolutely. If you guys want to check out Greenbean's channels, I put it down below in the description. He's a part of JetNation, so make sure you go check that out. He has excellent Jets content over there. And you guys know Ali, you guys know Jack. You guys want to introduce yourselves? Ali, you want to start off with you?
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Ali from Loyal on My Jet Fans. Let's talk some Jets.
How about you, Jack?
What's up, guys? My name is Jack. I have a Twitter. You can follow it at Jack_NY_Jets. And I've never been more upset in my life, but I'm also happy at the same time. So I don't know how the hell I feel, but let's get the therapeutic session going.
Yeah, so the first topic of tonight's take on the Monday Night Sports Talk is going to be a recap of yesterday's mess of a game. So, wow, what a disaster. Going into this game, all the Jets fans knew that it's going to be an L. Nobody expected the Jets to win. Everybody's rooting against them. And just there's no high expectations. There's nothing I can even look forward to. The big thing about this game surrounding it was definitely Jamal Adams, because obviously he is the former Jet, and this game was circled on everybody's schedule right when the schedule released in the offseason, because nobody thought the Jets would be where we at today back then in the offseason, because we all had high hopes. We all saw Le'Veon Bell and Jamal Adams going at it on Twitter. We're like, oh my gosh, guys, that week matchup is going to be awesome. Le'Veon's going to truck him. Jamal's going to truck him. Le'Veon's not even on the Jets anymore. And Pierre Desir is our nominee for Walter Payton Player of the Year, and he's not even on the Jets anymore. So it is just absolutely hysterical to be a Jets fan right now. And the way I look at all this is you just gotta laugh your way through it, because if you don't laugh your way through it, then you're just going to suffer, and suffering is not healthy. So starting off with you, Greenbean, what is your take on yesterday's mess of a game, and how can you compare this to yesterday's game? Have you ever experienced a game like this in your lifetime of being a Jets fan?
Yeah. Well, number one, let me just say that I also feel sad and happy at the same time. So maybe it's these are symptoms of a specific brand of mental illness. We're all going to find out that we have later. It's making a lot of sense to me, statements like that. But yesterday's game was probably, and I'd like was said, I've been around a long time. I've been a Jets fan since 1982. And I've seen some bad football, man, but yesterday's game was about it. And I know it's fresh, but what you guys are witnessing, I used to tell my son and all kinds of younger Jets fans, oh, don't worry, you'll never experience what we experienced. 1-15, Rich, Kotite, all the laughable stuff that we've done in our past. And I have to say, welcome, guys, because this is the worst I've ever seen the Jets. And the main thing that stuck out to me, though, because I also look for positives. The truth is, I sound negative, but I'm really a homer. Like, I really am. I want to believe the Jets are going to do everything right. I believe we're always going to turn the corner and all that jazz. But the one thing I can say that is definitely a positive yesterday is that Sam Darnold threw the ball directly to Jamal Adams' chest. And Jamal Adams said, I'm not an $18 million a year safety, and this is why. And that's exactly it. Dude, the guy, I mean, and yes, he got the sack record and all that, but on just the lamest way. It was almost as bad. I'm not sure if you guys remember when Michael Strahan, Brett Favre laid down for him, and Mark Gastineau, the only damn record we do have, they took it from us on that lame shit. So I think it's the same type of a thing yesterday, but Jamal Adams' game yesterday, just for me, was proof positive. Hey, he's a good player and all that. Nobody's going to take it, but this is why what we did do, and our GM is actually smart. So that's the positive I took out of it. But yeah, man, you guys are watching it. This is it. We're here. The worst.
Yeah, man, it's a good take, and I like your take on Jamal Adams as well, to spin it into a positive, because Jets fans need any ounce of positivity as possible. If you guys are new to the stream and you're enjoying tonight's episode, make sure you smash that like button. If you're enjoying this dynamic of me, Jack, Ali, and Greenbean, make sure you smash that like button for more episodes with this dynamic people in the stream. So, Ali, let's hear your take of yesterday's mess of a game.
I mean, the dry summaries pretty much sum it up. I mean, field goal, punt, fumble, miss field goal, miss field goal, miss field goal, punt, end of fourth quarter. That's what our summary was. And that's pathetic. That's absolutely pathetic. And that pretty much sums it up, the game, of how bad it was. And the receivers were running free. We saw Geno Smith for almost a quarter and a half. We saw him. That's how bad it got. And it's a shame. It's a shame. And I'm rooting for the tank, man. I am. I've said it multiple times. But seeing this team this bad and not competitive just is mind-boggling. I want to see them compete. I want to see them lose but compete. And that's not what we're getting on the field at all. And I know Greg Williams got fired, but at least Greg Williams brought a little bit of fire on the defense. I mean, the defense was strict with him there. I know Greg Williams was going to get fired at the end of the season no matter what, but at least he brought some fire in that defense, and people wanted to play for him. And, I feel like this team is going through so much, and after that Greg Williams fire, I think that locker room is absolutely dead. I think the locker room is gone, and there's no locker room. There's no life in it. So, we're not going to win a single game. I don't care. I don't care who the Patriots put on week 17. We're going to lose that game. Sam Darnold threw for 130 yards the full game, and that's pathetic. But it's just awful. It was an awful game.
Yeah, man. Illuminati 187 sends in a donation. Thank you so much, my man. And he says, who is terrified for week 17? Watch him sit, Cam Newton. Yeah, this is definitely the one little ounce of worry that Jets fans have, is week 17, because we know that the Patriots are a team to ruin the Jets in any way possible. And if the Patriots if they're knocked out of the playoff race and that week 17 matchup means nothing, who knows? I don't even want to talk about it because it gets me really nervous. Jack, what's your take of yesterday's mess of a game?
That's exactly what it was. Just a complete mess. Greenbean, going back to what you said, my father had season tickets back in the Kotite era. And the only win they got that year, if you remember, was on the road. So my dad went to 8 home losses that year. And to me,
I was with him.
And to me, oh, that's awesome, man. and to me, he says the same thing you just said. I didn't know it could get worse than that, but it has. It is the worst football I've ever seen at the professional level. Not even just Jets football. It's the worst football in the NFL I've ever had to witness. And it's our team. It's just so deflating. I like Ali says, I root for the tank, but I can't help myself. But I can't avidly root for them to play poorly when it comes game time. So it's just week after week, just disappointment. Adam Gase is the worst thing I've ever seen on this planet. I'll never understand it. I don't have much else to say, man. It was I like what Greenbean. I like what you said about the Jamal thing. That's when I was laughing my ass off when he dropped the easiest interception of all time. So that was good to see. But 0-16 is real, guys. 0-16 is real. We are not winning a game this year.
Yeah,
I don't even think I'm jinxing it by saying that. It's like it's just not happening this year.
Yeah, I mean, for the people that are worried about week 17, just watch the Jets and be like, how could they possibly win? I feel like even if Bill Belichick tells everybody, yo, we need to lose this game, they won't be able to because the Jets are that bad. They have no continuity on offense. It's ridiculous. And Sam Darnold has regressed to something that I never thought he would become. I think it just comes down to his mentality right now. He is not in the right space in his mind. I think that, again, Sam Darnold has all the physical talent in the world to be a successful quarterback in this league, but his mind is not where it's supposed to be in the moment right now to compete at a high level, as we know. And that segues into our next conversation, which is Sam Darnold said today to the media that he wants to be a Jet for life. And that breaks my heart because I think all four of us, we all hopped on the Sam train when we drafted him. We all had high hopes for him to be the franchise guy. And he also said in today's interview that, it's not up to me, but yep, there's a Sam. I got mine right there. Me and Jack both met Sam Darnold together. We both had the same autographed football. I'm going to start crying. But in all seriousness, Sam Darnold said, he's like, you know what? I would love to be here. I have a home here. I'm very comfortable in New York, but that decision is not up to me. And that's just like, as a guy that puts so much energy and faith into a guy that like Sam to be our savior, our franchise quarterback, and to hear him say that, it's just like, wow, man. And it's not even like people comment on my tweets like, yeah, but what if Sam is just not good? I mean, my only argument is if you go back to his rookie season, he had games where you look at his fundamentals, you look at his footwork, you look at his pocket presence, you look at these off-balance throws, and that is the reason why all four of us, and a lot of other Jets fans included, were very optimistic about him becoming our franchise guy. It's not like we just drafted him and then we just were hoping and he always sucked. He showed a lot of potential, and for him to say this, it just doesn't sit with me right. And honestly, I'm on the Trevor Lawrence train. I want Trevor Lawrence at the first pick, but at the same time, a little sliver of me would love for Sam to be a Jet for life and for him to all of a sudden become our franchise quarterback, because that's what I always wanted. But realistically, that's not going to happen. It looks like Sam's time as a New York Jet is up, and the best thing for him and the Jets is for them to part ways, in my opinion, as hard as it is to say. But we'll see, man. We got another donation from V-Man. What's going on, man? Always appreciate the donations. For those who are worried about Bill, throw week 17. Bill won't, because he needs every win in order to pass down Shula all time. Okay, that's a very, very good take, V-Man. I love that. Oh. So back onto the Sam Darnold content, because it's a depressing one. Greenbean, what's your take on Sam Darnold's quote that he wants to be a Jet for life? And do you think there's any chance that Sam Darnold is still the quarterback next year?
I think there is zero chance. But here's the thing. It's like when you look at, and you wonder if he's just not good. Believe me, I've been arguing this on JetNation or Twitter for years, since the minute we got this guy. There were people that said he sucked and was never going to amount to anything. And then there were guys like us who said, hey, man, he's clearly showing that he has something there. There's something there. He just needs, to be worked with. But when we hired Adam Gase, I don't know about you guys, me and the people that I run with, we knew it was a bad hire the second it happened.
100%.
Then once the press conference, when he was all geeked out on cocaine or whatever he was doing, man, that was. Then there was another thing. Then the biggest thing was still yet to happen. The guy was tasked with taking a young raw kid who had Brett Favre-like tendencies, and we didn't hire a quarterback coach. And we didn't hire an offensive coordinator. Dowell Loggins is not an offensive coordinator. He's only an offensive coordinator because Adam Gase gave him that title. That's not what he is. And we don't have a quarterback coach. Why wouldn't this kid regress? Or this man, sorry, I don't want to be that old. But, so it's like anybody could see that this was the way it was going to go. And then you add the offensive line and all those kinds of things. I think Joe Douglas is doing a good job, but he's only had one draft, man. That's all the guy's had. So as far as Sam Darnold regressing, I think he's absolutely regressing. Do I think he's redeemable? I do. He's 23 years old and he had the worst situation. He has no coach. He has no coach. He's 20. He was 21 when we brought Adam Gase on. He's a 21-year-old man he's raw as can be, and he has no coach. So I think anybody could see it going this way, and it's just sad to hear him say things like that. But hey man, if it's not going to work, we can't think of our emotions though. We got to just say, hey, good for you. Why don't you get out of here and let's go get Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, you said it right. We cannot think with emotions, and it's hard to, but it's the truth of reality. Because I was one of the biggest Sam advocates out there, and I always push for it, even throughout the season this year. At the beginning of the year, I always said, even through week 4, I'm like, listen, I'm not going to write off Sam Darnold until I see a full season. I'm not going to write him off by week 4. I'm not going to write him off. And then he comes back from injury, and he injures the shoulder again, and then he looked like what we've seen. So I'm now swallowing the bullet and throwing my emotions aside and realizing, you know what, maybe the best thing for this Jets franchise is to move on, especially if we get the first overall pick. So, Ali, what's your take on Sam saying that he wants to be a Jet for life? And yeah, what's your take on that, man?
I mean, it hurts. It hurts for sure. I was trying to write an article, and I can't believe I was writing the article about it because I'm just, when I watch a film, he just makes the same mistakes, man. He can't read the field correctly. He doesn't know how to throw it away. He knows there's a guy there. His check down is there. He doesn't see it. And this is constant mistakes. I mean, it's not like it's only one game and then he has a better game the next game. No, it's every game of him regressing. And, it's not all his fault. I mean, like you guys said, it's not all his fault. He doesn't have a coach. He does not have a coach. For 2 years, he did not have a coach and an offensive coordinator. So it's a lot on him and a lot not on him. And the best thing for him is to get a fresh start. But I was actually mentioning this earlier that if the Jets somehow win one game and get the second pick, I think we keep Sam. I think we keep Sam if Trevor Lawrence is not an option. If Trevor Lawrence is not an option, you keep Sam Darnold. But again, it's up to Joe Douglas. I think Joe Douglas has been really quiet. And, I think he's just working on getting this team back on track because this team sucks. This team's awful. And with Sam Darnold, man, I think he's 23. I met him too. He's a nice guy. He's handled the New York media very well. And, I think he'll be better off in New Orleans or wherever he goes and be successful.
Yeah, man, you hit it right in the nail. How about you, Jack?
The comment that he wants to be a Jet for life doesn't necessarily hurt me. I'm kind of taking that with a grain of salt, same way I took Joe Douglas's comments at the trade deadline that Sam was going to be our guy for the future with a grain of salt. I think it's just kind of the stock answers you have to give. Sam's a class act. He's not going to go on Twitter and get himself traded. He's gonna be a class act all the time. So I'm taking that comment with a grain of salt. I'm not that hurt by it. I think if anybody knows that the Jets is no longer the right place for Sam, it's Sam. He's the one out there taking these hits. He's the one with no open receivers. He's the one with the worst head coach of all time and terrible play calling. He's the one who has to hand it off to Frank Gore, 15 times, 20 times a game. It's rough for Sam. So it's not a friendly environment for him. So I like Sam as a person and I wish him the best, but it's I do agree with you, Ali, though. If somehow we get the second pick, I would stick with Sam Darnold. For sure, I would stick with Sam Darnold. But
yeah, that's a very interesting.
It's looking like Trevor Lawrence is most likely going to be a New York Jet next year. I don't want to make any guarantees, but yeah, that's what it's looking like.
Well, what do we do with the second pick then? Well, what are we doing with the second pick then? Who you taking? You trading it?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, see that gives a really. That gets a really interesting conversation if that's the case, if we get the second pick. I don't even want to talk about it because that's such a nightmare. I said this to myself today. I said this to Jack's father today because I was over his house. I'm like, Roger, if we went through a season like this and we don't get the first pick, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself because it's just Jets luck. And he's like, listen, man, it's just the Jets as an organization's curse. And that's something that is such a Jets thing to happen. And I just don't even want to keep talking about it because thinking that it's could possibly happen is making me want to cry. I'm being a little over dramatic, I know, but that's part of it. You know what I mean? So, so far we got 48 people in the stream. I hope you guys are enjoying tonight's episode of Monday Night Sports Talk. If you guys have not already, make sure you smash that like button on your way in. If you're enjoying tonight's episode, I hope you guys are enjoying. And again, enjoy Monday Night Football right after this episode. So this segues into another conversation. Ali brought it up, which is, do we have trust in Joe Douglas to turn this around? So he's the only guy that we have our faith in. I feel like Jets fans have all gave Joe Douglas the keys to the kingdom. Listen, please save us because without you, this team is going to be terrible forever. Because if Joe Douglas does not live up to the hype that everyone thinks he could be, and I think he does have the football knowledge and the brains to build this team the right way, but obviously this is just hope right now. We don't have any proof, we do have some proof because he finally had his first draft in offseason, and we saw what he did in the first and second round. I love Mekhi, I love Denzel, and we saw what Joe Douglas's offseason are going to look like. But again, Joe Douglas has a long-term vision, and we're not going to be able to see that long-term vision for a long time because it's a long-term vision. So we got to give it like 3 or 4 years before it becomes fruition, obviously. So, Greenbean, do you have trust in Joe Douglas?
Yeah, I do. There's just so many things I can say, but let me simplify it. That we haven't had an actual football person in the GM spot since a man named Steinberg. Okay, now we had Parcells, but he wasn't a GM. He was a coach that was fulfilling the GM role and kind of sucked at it. But so we have had accountants and scrubs and guys who shouldn't be there for the last 20 something years. Joe Douglas is the first guy that actually was being groomed to be a GM. Okay. He has that pedigree, the word you always hear. And I like that. Where he came from, he didn't come from the Texans. He didn't come from the Cardinals. He didn't come from any of those loser organizations, 1 year of successful Cleveland Browns or something. He came from the Ravens and the fresh Super Bowl winning Eagles. Okay. So that's one reason I trust him. The moves that he's made are exactly how I have been screaming for this type of stuff for years. Tear it down. Stop with this 7-9. We're good, keeping guys, letting coaches hold over. We fired one GM and kept him on as the director of scouting. Like we're afraid to just crush it, wipe it clean, and start over. And that's what I see Joe Douglas doing. Don't forget, he wasn't just tasked with building a team. He had to untie the Quincy and knot, the Tremaine Johnson knot, the CJ Mosley knot, the Le'Veon Bell knot, all these contracts that he had to undo. He's got one left. Once he cuts Henry Anderson, he's got CJ Mosley. That's the only one left that he can't get rid of. He got rid of Jamal. Ultimately, Sam will go and he'll get his coach and his quarterback. I love everything that he's doing outside of 1 or 2 moves. But like you said, Richie, it's going to take time, and it's not going to happen right now. But this is the first guy that's doing things that make sense to me. Mike McCagnon, Idzik, all these guys, I was like, I had no idea what they were doing. Every pick, every move, I said, this is out of mind. I don't know what they're doing. So, yeah, I love them.
Yeah, man. I love it because we need this sense of urgency as Jets fans. We need to really look forward because, again, it is rock bottom and we cannot get any worse than this. And Joe Douglas is the guy that can turn this franchise around. And you said it best, Greenbean. We've never had a football guy running the show. We've had these accountants and these cap guys and all these people that just think they know money, and it just never worked. We have a guy that was groomed to be a GM, like you mentioned as well. He has experience scouting. He's known to develop his players. He just has a good eye for talent, and that's what we need to do. And again, Greenbean, I'm going to keep talking about your points because you made a lot of good ones. We need to rip it down to the ground before we can build it up. And we always try to cut corners. And by acquiring an okay player for a really big contract to try to win, to save a job, I always compare that because I felt like Mike McCagnon was fighting for his job every single offseason by giving out these lucrative deals. Joe Douglas will not sign someone to a big deal unless he knows that this player will take us to the Super Bowl. Not this player, but this player will add on to the foundation I built, and it could potentially bring us to the top. Joe Douglas this offseason, I do not expect him to open up the bank and give big contracts out. Maybe he might open the bank for 1 or 2 positions like an edge, or maybe he wants to get that big ticket wide receiver if we do get Lawrence. But again, I think Jets fans should have all in on Joe Douglas and just be, okay, Joe, we really need you to hit on these drafts. He has all the ammunition possible to turn this franchise around. That's another great thing. And he had to untie a bunch of knots, like you mentioned. He just is doing everything in a course of time. And like I mentioned earlier, I know Jets fans don't want to hear this, but we need to give it time because it does not happen overnight. It's not going to happen in 1 year. It's not going to happen in 2 or 3 years. It might take a lot longer than we expect. But I will say, if we do get Trevor Lawrence, it will definitely have a little shortcut to that long-term vision. So, Jack, do you have trust in Joe Douglas to turn this around? And if so, what about Joe Douglas gives you the confidence that he can build his team properly that previous Jets GMs just did not?
Well, I think Greenbean made a very good point. He's a football guy who comes from, actual organizations. You know, he's been groomed for this. I have trust in him based on, there's a couple questionable moves, like the Morgan pick makes no sense to me at this point in the year. But I like the presence he brings, and I like what he's done. I think he nailed Mekhi Becton, obviously, and Denzel Mims, and hopefully we can see more production out of Jabari Zuniga. But I have faith in Joe Douglas to make the right moves for this team, as long as he gets his coach, and it's looking like he's gonna get his quarterback as well. So it makes no sense to me, man. You will never convince me that it was okay to let Mike McCagnon draft and then fire him. So it's I'd be curious to see where we'd be at if Joe Douglas had 2 Jets drafts under his belt. But that's coming up in a couple months, so we'll see how it goes. I have faith in the guy, and I think Jets fans should, because quite frankly, you got to have faith in something, and I can't think of anybody else to put my faith into at this point. So it's got to be Joe Douglas.
Listen, man, this is going to be one of the best and interesting off seasons in recent memories for the New York Jets, whether it comes to a coaching search, hopefully, and the draft capital that we have and the cap space we have, and potentially having the first overall pick. This offseason is going to be wild. Ali, what's your take on Joe Douglas, and do you have trust in Joe Douglas? And if so, what traits does he have that gives you the utmost confidence?
I mean, he's shown signs. He's shown signs of a good GM, especially this offseason. Saving money, not overpaying people. And it was not a talented free agency. I mean, it was not that great. And it was pretty stupid if he overpaid this past. But next offseason is the most important. This upcoming one is very important for him. I mean, you're going to have $100 million in cap space. You planned yourself to have lots of draft picks for the next 2 years. And this is his chance to show what his plan is and show Jets fans exactly what he's thinking of building this team. I mean, if you're going to draft a quarterback, if it's Trevor Lawrence, he's got to do it the right way. Get offensive linemen, get wideouts. That's what you need to do to build around your your franchise quarterback that you're trying to develop. That's what he needs to do. I like what Joe Douglas. I trust him because of how he's handled everything. I mean, he's been thrown into a dumpster fire, and he's pretty much doing everything he can to change this around. So I think for long-term wise, I think it's perfect for us. But a lot of people want it now, and people want meaningless wins right now, which doesn't make any sense. But I think me and Greenbean, we actually talked about it on Ryan's stream at Jets Talk, and we were just talking about this, how we always win meaningless games in the end. We go win 5 games in the end, and we're like, oh, this is going to transition to the next year. Oh, we're going to be better next year. And that's not going to happen this year. Joe Douglas is going to have all the momentum, first pick, and then all this cap space. He needs to hit on these picks, and he needs to hit on this. Get guys. He needs to go get Allen Robinson. He needs to go get Dupree. He needs to go get Sonny. He needs to get everyone he can to build this team the right way. And I think I'm excited for the offseason, like we always are, but very excited.
Yeah, I mean, the offseason means no Jets losing. So we're all excited for that.
Baby, best time of the year.
It's the best time of the year.
That's right.
And we're going to milk it like we've never milked anything before. I'm low-key not going to be excited for the season no matter how our team looks, because I know I'm just going to remember back to last year and be like, wow, that was bad, and I'm nervous for it. And listen, this is another segment that I just want to quickly talk about. We are at rock bottom. That means it's only up from here. So that's some optimism for you. We cannot get any worse than this. And that should make us feel a little more sane, I guess, because listen, guys, we are on pace to be the worst team in NFL history. Wow. Wow.
It's real, guys.
Love it.
If it's anybody, it needs to be the New York Jets. So I don't want to give this any more conversation. Let's talk about the offseason. So positions we need to focus on the most this offseason. So we just talked about Joe Douglas. We just understood that we need him to, first of all, hire the right head coach. We need him to bring in the right guys of free agency to turn this team around and obviously build through the draft. So which positions do you guys feel like this is the most important? Do we need depth here? And do you think that Joe Douglas should really focus on the most? Starting with you, Greenbean.
You want to do coach or you want to do positions? I got all that stuff ready for you.
Both. Hit us with both.
All right. Well, as far as the coach, I think, like we're saying, it's good. This is obviously a very important hire. But the good news with this is that the Jets have this cockeyed hierarchy where the coach and the GM both report to the unbeknownst owner who doesn't know a damn thing about football. So one thing we're going to see this year, which is going to be good, when Joe Douglas picks his coach, he's not going to come in on equal footing. They're going to give Joe Douglas the keys to the Jets, and that's finally going to happen. So feel good about that. It's going to happen. That's what we're going to see. He's going to pick his coach. For me, it's one of three people, and one of the new ones is just a fantasy that came out last week. He's my number 3, but he would be Bill Cowher. I would love it if it came. I don't even think it's real, but that is what it is. My top 2 are Greg Roman and Mike Campbell. And those guys, I don't want to hear Joe Brady. I don't want to hear Arthur Smith. The Jets have hired 8 first-time coordinators who were like the hot coordinator doing their first good job, and it's just never worked for us, and I don't see it working again. Now, as far as positions, and I know everybody doesn't like Greg Roman right now, but 4 weeks of Lamar Jackson talking doesn't remove a decade of really impressive team building and all that stuff for me. So as far as positions, let's say we draft Trevor Lawrence. I think Ali just nailed it, which is we got to do it right. It's like we have to actually build around this guy. And so I think the guard spot, I mean, if you're going to bring in a free agent, that's great. But you got to draft a guard relatively high first 3 rounds. This particular draft is going to be really rich in interior defensive linemen, both center and guard in the 3rd and 4th. So you don't need to grab one up high, but you can. And honestly, it's receiver. And for me, it's a very strong tight end draft. I know people don't call tight end premium positions, but how good would you feel if Trevor Lawrence had Kels or Kittle running around? So that's what I see. And my number 1 guy is Pitts, but right after him is Freiermuth, and from Penn State, I believe. So anyway, that's what I would go toward, guys who can block and guys who can make plays for the quarterback. And the coach has got to be somebody who's been doing this more than a half an hour for me.
Yeah, man, I agree with everything you said there. I do not want the Jets to hire a coach that has just been a coordinator. We need a CEO type of coach. I've said this in my previous stream. We need a guy that can come in here and doesn't show the Johnsons or Joe Douglas in the interview his schematics, or this is the type of play calling I want to do. No. What are you bringing to the Jets that's going to change the culture? What kind of players do you want to bring in here? Are you a leader? Are you going to galvanize the locker room? That is more important to me than any schematics, to be honest, because if you have that, then you have the ability to hire those like-minded people who are good in the schematics and the good in the play calling and the coordinator well. That's what this New York Jets team needs. Like a Bill Cowher, I know that is way out of blown up, and I don't really think that's realistic, but I'm just going to bring him up because that is the exact type of coach this Jets team needs desperately. They don't need a coordinator coming up that is just an offensive mind and he's going to coach one side, and then we hire a defensive coordinator who's going to be the head coach of the defense. We saw how that turned out. Literally Adam Gase and Greg Williams. So, and then Todd Bowles. Love Todd Bowles, but he is a defensive coordinator that never deserved to be a head coach. He is a very good, brilliant defensive mind, but he does not have the leadership qualities, in my opinion, to be a head coach. So it's never worked in the past. We need to move on and not hire a coordinator. Bring in somebody that can just bring a different type of energy, and we'll see what happens there. So that's my take on the coaches. Ali, do you want to give us some positions that we need to focus on the most? And if you want to touch on the coaches, you can, but if not, totally okay.
I mean, for the coaching wise, I won't say any names, but I don't trust, if ownership makes the call, I don't trust ownership to make the right call, if that makes sense. I mean, I do not trust, if Joe Douglas makes the call, absolutely, I think he's going to make the right choice. I think he's going to make the right coach that he's going to want to bring in. if ownership, like they always do, take control of this, they're not going to make the right decision. I have no confidence of them making the right decision because they brought Adam Gase in for 2 years. So that goes out to there. So we'll see how that coaching goes. Anything's better than Adam Gase, but that should not be our thing. That shouldn't be what we want to reach for. We got to get a coach that can be here for at least 5-10 years. But again, for free agency wise, you got to go wide out. You have to get a wide receiver, especially if we're getting Trevor Lawrence. I like an Allen Robinson. I think he was a talented wide out, number one wide out, and he'll be an instant playmaker for the Jets. Galladay is also an option. But honestly, offensive line is probably the most important right now. You got to work with Mekhi Becton. You know, he's a building piece for your offensive line. You got to build that now, right? So that's what they have to do. You know, there's a couple offensive linemen like Taylor Munn. You know, there's a lot of other guys that are available. And then cornerback. Our corners suck. I mean, Seattle was just running through them yesterday. I like Bryce Hall. He's learning, but you need to bring more experienced guys in to learn from. And, you know, it's going to be interesting. I think Rich Samini said that the Jets are going to be using the draft as defense-wise. I don't know how that's going to go, but, you know, we'll see. The Jets have to work on both sides. There's too many holes. I don't think they're going to be able to do all of that in one offseason because there's just too many holes on this team and in general, but at least they can make a team up and try to build it correctly. And, you know, we'll see what this offseason looks like.
Yeah, man. I feel like we all are on the same page. We want playmakers and we want offensive line the most. And then we have to realize, oh wait, our defense has a lot of holes as well. So we need to focus on the defense just as much as the offense. So Jack, what positions do you feel like the Jets should focus on the most?
Definitely O-line, I would say, is super important, as well as cornerbacks, like Ali mentioned. But what about, I guess I'm hoping that a new head coach is going to hopefully revive Chris Herndon, but we have no tight ends. You're wondering what CJ Mosley is going to be like, or if that's even going to happen again. Like, I don't know. So you're wondering about middle linebacker. I would like to see an edge presence, because if we can get somebody dominant out there on the edge with Quinnen Williams in the middle, that could all of a sudden make our defensive lines really fun to watch. So, because we're always pretty solid against the run, but in the last few years we've just been struggling with any sort of pass rush. We get some okay seasons from guys, but nothing ever crazy that blows your mind. Like, wow, this guy is really something special rushing the passer. And it's so important in this league now. It's a passing league, so if you give any quarterback too much time, he's going to find the open man. So we just need to get more pressure on the quarterback. I think edge is a super important position for this team to tackle, but definitely offensive line help and secondary help as well, for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of holes, and you guys all mentioned the holes. We need it. And one position of need that I will mention that nobody brought up is running back. Frank Gore will hopefully not be here next year. So
yeah,
I do like what I see from the rookie, LaMichael Pirine. It's very unfortunate that he had to get injured because I felt like he was starting to get really comfortable. The last time we saw of Pirine, he had a touchdown, and that game, he showed me some traits to his game that I have not seen yet, which is the shiftiness and patience behind the line of scrimmage to find the hole. And that really got me excited. And then right after that game, he went on the injured reserve list. So I think Pirine has a bright future to be the second running back on this team. And that tells us that there's a vacant hole for that running back one position. Are we going to get one in free agency? Are we going to spend money on like an Aaron Jones? I don't expect Joe Douglas to do that. Therefore, I think he's going to go out there and draft another running back. I do like what I see from Ty Johnson and Josh Adams. Maybe they can be depth players, but running back is definitely a position of need because we need to establish a run game. I feel like the future of this Jets offense could be a run-dominant team, especially with Mekhi Becton, because as we know, he is an A+ run blocker. He has some hiccups in pass protection, but you cannot expect a rookie to be dominant right away. So if we become a left-handed run dominant team, then we need to have that running back that we can give 20, 25 carries a game and put up big numbers, because that is what's going to open up our passing attack. Like I said, I do think LaMichael has a potential on this team if he could stay healthy. And like I said, I think he could be a pass catching back out of the backfield and be the backup for sure. So this is an interesting one. Let's name some current Jets players that you guys feel like is part of the future. There's not a lot. And one player I'm going to bring up, because this is a question mark, because he is not under contract next year. And it is a guy that is definitely one of our best players in the team, and that is Marcus May. Marcus May had the highlight of the day yesterday with that phenomenal interception. He looked like the best safety on the field that entire game. Marcus May is balling out. He's graded better at Jamal Adams in every single category. Marcus May is a free agent. So I'll ask you guys two questions. What are some Jets players that is part of the future? And is Marcus May part of that solution? One, do you think Marcus May wants to be a Jet again? And two, will Joe Douglas pay him? Greenbean, starting with you.
Yeah, that's funny. I was going to open that answer with that exact question. I'm not so sure Marcus May wants to be here. He's been here during that period. It's like, this is the worst Jets football we've had in a long, long time. He's been here for every bit of it. So I don't know. I think Joe Douglas will want to pay him in those statements he made about undervaluing Robbie Anderson's market value. I think that he'll learn his lesson with someone like Marcus May. So I think we'll make a push, but he's not going to overpay for him. So I'd like to keep him around. I would say anybody on their rookie contract is probably worth keeping for the most part. I think last year's rookie class has a lot more than we're even, seeing, because look, a lot of those guys, 5th, 6th round picks, undrafted free agents, they're not supposed to be out there this early. Bryce Hall is a little bit of an X factor, because he would have been like a 2nd round pick. And I'm from Charlottesville, so I watched a lot of UVA, man. And Bryce Hall was the goods. He was the king of Charlottesville, where UVA is. And I really believe in him, but it's going to take some time. One thing I'll say about the draft, though, just quickly, is that if we go all defense, I'm going to be very disappointed, because I'd rather lose games 45 or win games 45-35 than lose games 10-7. So all that kind of stuff about like really focusing on the D, I think that's a mistake in today's NFL. I agree. We need an edge rusher. We haven't had one since I was in I think I was 20. I don't know. It's a long time ago, man. So we need an edge rusher to go with Quinnen Williams, and that guy's not on the team. But I think the players that should stay are very few and far between. Jordan Jenkins, all those guys, you take them or leave them.
Later.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think we're going to have like a 75% new team next year. And when I ask who's part of the future, like, who do you guys feel like will still be on the team in 5 years? I think the answer to that question is a lot of the draft class that we just experienced, like a Becton and Mims. At least we can hope. But so that opens up to a question to Ali. Current Jets players that are part of the future, and touch up on Marcus May.
I mean, pretty much exactly what Greenbean said, honestly. There's not many guys that I can see us keeping for very long, offensive side and defensive side. I was gonna say Ty Johnson, but I don't see him staying like 5 years. I can maybe they come bring him back next year in training camp and see how he does there. But Quinnen Williams, obviously, he's having a breakout year, and you got to build with that guy. So Quinnen Williams should stay. Marcus May, man, I hope he stays. I really do, because that's the type of guy that you want to build around in the secondary. That's a guy who's been consistently good this season, and he's probably the best piece on that secondary right now. And that's where you build, like how you're building the offensive line with Mekhi Becton, Quinnen Williams with the defensive line. That for the secondary, you need Marcus May to build around. So I hope he can stay. But again, I think he'll have better options, and a lot of other teams will be after him. and he might want out like Jamal Adams wanted out. So it's hard to see which player is going to stay because Joe Douglas is bringing all his guys that he wants. So a lot of these guys are just gone. And he's going to make as much cap for him as he wants and bring in guys that are depth players. And, you know, I think Fatukasi can probably be coming back. I think he's a good guy to have around. He's a good depth player, and he's showing I feel like he's been making plays every game. Like here and there, he makes one or two good plays that you're like, wow, who's this guy? You know, I think the Jets have a lot of people they're going to be cutting in the next few months. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was actually going to say the young core on this defensive line, I think, is part of the future. That trio of Quinnen Williams, Foley Fatukasi, and Jonathan Franklin Myers. Those three guys are very young, and they're showing up. We all know what Quinnen Williams is doing, but I feel like not a lot of people are really talking about Foley or Jonathan Franklin Myers. Foley Fatukasi, you know who he reminds me of? Snacks. He's a big man, nose tackle who stuffs the run up the middle. And he makes plays, like you said, Ali, every single week where you're like, wow, that is not just an average play. Like, that's a really good football player right there. Jonathan Franklin Myers gets to the quarterback consistently. Those three guys are both under 24 years old. So that's a young core we could build around the defensive line. So that's my answer, is we need to build around those three guys. And I think all three of them should be part of the future. And my quick little take on Marcus May before I send this over to Jack is he is the leader of the secondary. And it really is a tough decision for him. Does he want to be a Jet? Like, has he had it? Has he like, yo, like Jamal got out of here. I'm a free agent. I don't need to bark my way out. I can just walk in free agency without any drama and say, listen, Jets Nation, thanks for the opportunity, but I'm going to go get money. I'm going to go to a winning team. If he does that, I don't blame the guy. I mean, who the hell wants to play with the Jets after being this terrible? But on the flip side of things, what if Marcus May says, you know what? I want to be part of the turnaround. I love being a Jet, and I love wearing New York across my chest. And that would be awesome because he is a guy that we need to build around the secondary, and he's getting better every single year. So, Jack, what are some current Jets players that you think is part of the future that could be built around? You know, like I mentioned the defensive line. So just go off on that and talk about Marcus May as well.
For sure, man. I love what you mentioned about the defensive line. I think those three young core players, Foley and Franklin Myers and Quinnen Williams, obviously, should be here for a while and should be here to stay. I want to see them continue to develop and see what they can do. Like we mentioned before, we just need that edge presence, you know, and then I think our defensive line could be borderline elite. You know, I really do. I don't think that's even a stretch to say that. But, you know, let's talk about the offensive line and the guy we got in Mekhi Becton and how important it's going to be to build around him. Because if we get Trevor Lawrence next year and it's you know, just Mekhi Becton out there and then, you know, the rest of the line is in its current state, you know, he's going to be running for his life. I don't care how good you look in college. At the professional level, it's like night and day, you know? So he's going to be running for his life. I still think he could, you know, light it up. Maybe like hopefully like at least like a Justin Herbert type deal where like we're not necessarily winning every game, but like our quarterback's playing well and we're fun to watch, you know? But I think it's super, super important. And Joe Douglas acknowledges this, that you win at the line of scrimmage. And that's another thing that I love about Joe Douglas. Super, super important to build the offensive line. And I'd like to build it through the draft, ideally. You know, if we get like a Thuney, like people are mentioning, you know, that'd be great. But ideally, I'd like to build the offensive line through the draft, get some studs on rookie contracts. And then that's when, you know, all of a sudden in a couple of years, Joe Douglas can break the bank and make a crazy signing or two, you know? So I think that the offensive line, basically the line of scrimmage, you know, we need to win games at the line of scrimmage, and that's Joe Douglas's philosophy. So I think we just need to properly build. Yeah, but Mekhi Becton for sure.
Exactly. So we got another donation from HV. Thank you so much, man. You think Belichick throws the last game and we don't get the first pick? See, this is on every Jets fan's mind, and it's the biggest worry. And I don't like talking about it because it gets me really anxious, and it really is something that I'm worried about. Honestly, guys, I've been rooting for the Patriots recently because I want them to be in the playoff conversation come week 17. And what the hell is going on? Like, why am I rooting for the New England Patriots? Who would have ever thought it would come to that? But here I am, and I was kind of upset to see them get blown out because I wanted them to be in the playoff race. It's not over yet. If they win the next 2 games, maybe because there's an extra playoff spot, maybe there's a way for them to get into the playoffs if they beat the New York Jets week 17, because that is definitely a thing of worry. But yeah, thank you for the donation, man. And I don't think he's gonna throw the game. I think we're gonna go 16. And
Jaguars are gonna win next week. Watch.
Gardner Minshew's back.
Not against the Ravens. Not against the Ravens. The Bears. They're gonna win against the Bears.
If Minshew's back and they get a W, I'm rooting so hard for the Jets to win against the Patriots. If that means we already got the first pick. Right. So yeah, I mean that's my. What is your take on that, Greenbean, with the whole Patriots stuff?
Let me say this, that it would be more Jet-like if we win that last week. I mean, and that's the way that it would happen for us. Don't forget, you guys probably remember 2015, the Rex Ryan coached Buffalo Bills. We were 10-5. All we needed to do was beat them. And Fitzpatrick, Brandon Marshall, they'd be in their first playoffs. We were dancing. It's meant to be. And we went up there and threw 5 picks and we lost. So like that's the way it goes for us. So like it's always about the maximizing of pain. Like what would be the most painful? And that's getting us to week 17 and then blowing it. So that's more likely than not. You know, that all said, I don't think Bill Belichick is going to throw it. I thought he was going to throw one. It would have been the first one because then they could have hung around at the bottom, maybe even been in the Trevor Lawrence conversation. They were close. They were only 1 game or 2 games out of it, and if they would have beaten or they would have lost to us, it would have been 1 game out of Trevor Lawrence. So I don't think he's going to throw it. And like you said, I'm hoping that that it's a relevant game for them. But I do think that it's the kind of game Adam Gase, Sam Darnold last game as Jets, just like Geno Smith did. Rex Ryan's last year as our coach. Geno Smith he had the highest quarterback rating in history or something like that. It was the best quarterback rating ever. It's perfect. So I was at that game, and it was like, what the hell is this? And all that did was make us think Geno was worth a shit, and we lost the draft pick. We moved back like 4 spots because of that game. So I just think we really got to use our collective energy, man, and root for those damn Jaguars and root for these damn Patriots because we need it. Because I'm telling you, it's more like us to blow this shit, man.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's why I'm so scared. Like I mentioned earlier in the stream, I was talking to Jack's father today, and I'm like, if it's one thing the Jets to do, it's to give us false hope. And that's why me personally, I am not falling in love with Trevor Lawrence just yet. Yes, if we get the first pick, do I want him? 100%. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying is I'm not going to sleep at night watching Trevor Lawrence highlights and getting obsessed with him, saying like, oh my God, this is our future. This is our next quarterback. Because if I do that and then we don't end up getting him, I'm setting myself up for depression, and I'm avoiding that. So if we don't get that first pick, I'll be upset, but I won't be as upset because I did not fall in love with Trevor Lawrence. And I really feel bad because there's a lot of Jets fans that did that. Well, I don't feel bad because it's not going to happen. All those Jets fans are going to be really happy because we're going to get them. But at the same time, I feel for them because if that doesn't happen, I really hope that they are okay. I might have to really make a series called Jets Therapy Session if that happens, and let all those people on and let them talk to me. I'll be like the therapist. I'll be like, listen, talk to me, man. Talk to me. And
hey, that's what I do for a living, Richie. I am a therapist.
You are a therapist.
Yeah, that's right, buddy.
That's awesome.
All right,
do that.
Let's make a new show, me and you. Jets Media and Greenbean Therapy.
That's right, man.
I love it.
But so to finish off the Monday Night Sports Talk, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're at around 100 people watching right now. That is awesome. If you guys did not already, make sure you smash that like button if you're enjoying tonight's episode. We got a lot of content to talk about the New York Jets, and we went through a lot. We talked over Sam Darnold and all the mess that's going around Jets land. And listen, all 4 of us, it's tough for us to find optimism for the Jets because we're at rock bottom. But again, we as content creators will not stop creating Jets content for you guys because you guys, the fans, the people watching, the people subscribing, liking all the videos and everything, if it wasn't for you guys, we would not be doing this. So I just want to thank everybody that's showing Jets Media a lot of support and all the Jets YouTubers You guys show a lot of love to everybody. Jets Talk 24/7, Matt O'Leary, Jets Central, everybody in the Jets community. We're all in this together, and it is a tough time to be a Jets fan. Make sure you subscribe to Greenbean on YouTube. I linked it down below in the description. Make sure you check out Ali over on Loyal NY Jets Fans on Instagram for all the latest New York Jets news. And make sure you check out my man Jack's music page on Instagram. He just came out with a brand new song, Oasis. So type in Jack McGalley if you want to check out his tunes. So yeah, that really does it for tonight's episode. To finish it off, we're going to go around the table one more time and say our fellow goodbyes and give any ounce of hope for the future if you guys can. I don't know. Ali, starting with you.
I mean, TANK, tank. That should be our slogan. That's what you should be rooting for. That's what you should be doing. I mean, I have been writing draft profiles, and I still haven't done Trevor Lawrence yet because I have a feeling that the Jets are gonna pretty much ruin it. I put a post on Instagram every week saying, disclaimer, do not fall in love with Trevor Lawrence just yet. Just don't do that and don't hurt yourself because you're just falling into a trap right now. When the season's over, week 17, it's 0-0 on the clock and the Jets lost, that's when I'll know to root for Trevor Lawrence. And that's when I'll do my draft profile. So we got 3 more games, guys. We got 3 more games. We got 3 more games to lose, and you get your Trevor Lawrence. You get your sunshine quarterback. So see you guys next week.
Yeah. How about you, Jack?
Yeah, it's just been a pleasure. I love doing this stuff every week. It really gets a weight off my chest, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to communicate with you guys and to breathe way too much life into this piece of garbage team that we're all stuck with for the rest of our lives. But thanks for having me as always. Greenbean, you're the man. It was a pleasure hanging out with you and talking Jets with you. Yeah, right, the tank rolls on, guys.
How about you, Greenbean?
Well, no, I'm sorry if I'm all choppy and everything. I'm all over the country, so I do apologize for that.
It's okay.
But what I'll say is this is a very important time for Jets fans. This is what makes us such a great fan base. Patriot fans and shit, they never suffered through anything. So those guys, they were actual Patriot fans that left and are now Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans because one player left. That can never happen to us. We're being forged in the fire right now. We know damn well what it's like to suffer and experience pain. Embrace it, man. When the good times come, it's that much sweeter. It's always darkest before the dawn. Just hold on. It's going to be great. Joe Douglas had us. We're good.
I love that. As a perfect way to end off tonight's episode. I hope everybody's staying safe and everyone's family's okay. And I hope you guys have a happy holiday. We will be live again next week. And stay tuned for more Jets content on this channel. Again, make sure you check out JetNation. I left it in the below description. Thank you guys so much. Let's go Jets or let's go Rams. We'll find out. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And that does it. Peace out, guys.